Wasting money on cures. Forgot how to fix myself. They say that time is free. Then why is it so precious? Oh, I'll say memories in my head, like Polaroids on walls. They remind you to look ahead. Time is running out. Time is running out. Lately I've lost my track. I've sailed the deeper seas, hoping to find something to bring back better times. Oh, I'll say memories in my head, like Polaroids on walls. They remind you to look ahead. But time is running out. 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 Time is running. Time is running out. But time is running out. What if my best days are over? They can't be over. They can't be over now. Time is running out. What if my best days are over? They can't be over now. Time is running out. Time is running out. Time is running out.
Afternoon, everyone. It's Jim here, and I'm back with Graham once again for the latest in our series of live streams. This one for AQA A-level business, paper 3G. One paper to go.
Paper 3 next week.
Not long.
Not
a
long.
week. A week to go.
6th of
So
June,
the-
isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. So the aim of these sessions, we've got one today, one tomorrow, and a warm up next week, is just to gently encourage people back into some revision. Hopefully, you've had a bit of time off over half term, but now's the time to start zeroing in again on your final papers. And paper 3, of course, one of the lowest scoring papers in AQA business, but a big opportunity to score big. And hopefully, these sessions will help you do that. We are live with over almost 200 people. So if you're watching, joining us live, please use the live chat window to add your comments and answers into the live chat. If you're watching on replay, so you get a bit more chance. Now, we've been writing and working on a new case study. We're not going to go the whole hog today and go through the whole case study. We just think a bit like with our Grey Booster workshops, we'll dip in and out of extracts, appendices, tables, that kind of stuff, just to make it so it's not too overwhelming in terms of the live stream. We'll cover some different topic areas, including topic areas that haven't been examined so far in paper 1 and paper 2. Not that we know what's coming up or what we're going to guess. A question coming in from Neve, Graham. I don't know whether you want to give us an update.
Well, it's my wife's car's in the garage because that broke down 10 days ago, and my car broke down on Tuesday. 10 hours to be recovered. That's still in the garage. Hopefully, one will be fixed today. The other one will be fixed next Wednesday, I believe.
There we go.
Thanks for your concern.
Now, we were going to do a big reveal today, but we've decided not to, just to stay focused on this case study. But would you believe it? The answer was Greg's, Graham. The first time ever.
We're working backwards now, aren't we?
Yeah.
So the answer was Greg's. What was the clues?
Well, that's what people have to come up with. Anyway, let's make a start. So the idea of this session is we are going to dive into part of the case study and also look at 12 marker, 12 markers in paper 3. But we also want to cover content, topics that haven't been examined so far, topics that are important, and topics that we'll be dipping into in the case study as well. It's really important to know your stuff, and as is the case every year, isn't it? Students are missing out on some marks by not knowing the stuff. So we'll start with our new totally random spinner, sponsored by Greg's for the first time. We've got 6 topic areas here, 5 of which are from the spec. We'll spin the wheel, and all you have to do in the live chat is help Graham and I out here by listing 2 of the things that we asked for. So let's spin the wheel, G. Here's our first one. Anna's saying, hoping this live will get me back into revision. Well, that's the idea, G, isn't it? That's the idea, to encourage people. Hopefully your hands and minds have recovered from those 5-9 markers in paper 2. And anyway, over to you in the live chat. We'll try to put 1 or 2 people's answers into the screen if we can.
Yeah, so lots coming in already. Got export, alliances. So lots coming in.
Yeah, Ruby's going for alliances and exports, which are indeed 2 of the 4, I think, aren't they?
Yeah.
Dylan's gone for a different combination. There are 4 listed, but we only asked for 2, which is cool. Some answers coming through which aren't specifically methods of entering international markets. They are strategies.
Examples, aren't they? Yeah, strategy.
But the spec is quite specific, as you would hope a specification to be. Joe, I think, has got all of them, hasn't he? All 4. I might be wrong.
Should we have a look?
Let's have a look, yeah. So exporting, that's selling direct into an international market. It could be to an agent. It could be to a distributor. It could be direct to the customer. Licensing is where you give another business, for example, in an international market, the license or the right to operate your brand or your business. Alliances is like ventures, really, isn't it? It's strategic alliances, partnerships, if you like, between businesses. Direct investment, often otherwise called FDI, where you, for example, you might build a factory in an international market, or you might set up a distribution centre. Anything to add to those, G?
No. I think there's some really good examples. It's easy to drift away there. I think there's a few students talking about market penetration, market development. They're strategies rather than specific ways of entering, an international or overseas market. So it's important to stay focused on the precise demands of the question.
Now, this is an area that's not been widely examined previously by AQA, but it's an important part of the spec. Would you believe it? We're covering this tomorrow in our case study.
Wow.
Let's spin the wheel again. It didn't land on Greg's the first time. Let's see what happens this time. Oh, flexible organisations, flexible working. Again, not been examined for a while.
Yeah, it actually has come up. I think it has come up in a paper 3 once before, but it was a long time ago. I think it was
1946, was it?
It might be analysed 2 benefits of flexible working. I think it might have been. I could be mistaken.
It's great to see so many people joining us who've been regulars over the weeks. So we started doing these back in Easter, didn't we? We've been doing them a bit longer than that. Time. We started doing a lot of them from Easter. Luke has gone for flexible working contracts, flexible hours. Freya just makes that a little bit more specific. Home working.
As long as you put as long as your answer's relevant, preferably drawn from the specification. But as long as you're identifying a valid method of flexible working, you'll be fine.
Just picking a few out here as they're coming into the live chat. We're getting literally dozens and dozens of people adding them into the live chat. Part-time working, 0 hours working or 0 hours contract, job sharing, increasingly popular, particularly in service sectors.
Yeah.
Flexi time, all of these would be okay, wouldn't they, G? They'd all be good.
No, all relevant. They're all, as long as they're relevant methods of flexible working, you'll be fine.
I've picked out 4 there that were on the specification. So remote working or home working, obviously that's become a big part of work since the pandemic, or an increasing part of normal work, either permanently or on an occasional basis. Job sharing, where you split a job between two or more people. Part-time working, temporary working as well we could have had, and 0 hours contracts, which of course have become quite a controversial part of flexible working. Very flexible particularly from the employer's point of view. Some might argue that not as flexible for others.
Yeah, my daughter works, she's got a 0 hour contract for the Barbican in York, and I'm a good example of remote working myself, Jim. So remote working affords me the flexibility. If the garage rings and says your car's ready, then I could go down and get it and catch up later in the evening. A great example of flexible working.
There we go. Let's spin the wheel again. So flexible working should have been grayed out. It has. So I say the idea of this session is just to sort of ease you back into revision. I know we're doing quite a bit of knowledge and concepts here, but these are important. If these come up, you need to know what they are. Over to you on this one, G.
Yeah, so can we come up with 2 different ways or methods a business could extend the product life cycle? I don't think the product life cycle has been examined for a long time.
No,
and certainly not extension
2021.
strategies either. And certainly
2021 was the last time.
Yeah. Yeah, new features. So adding new features can be a way of extending the product life cycle. And it's a bit of the lines can be blurred a little bit when it comes to things like that. For example, iPhone consistently add new. Is it a new product, or is it just an adaptation of an existing product? I would argue it's an adaptation of an existing product, therefore it's an extension strategy. Increase advertising, that's a great example. Maybe that's a short-term method of extending the product life cycle, but increased advertising is a great one. More product innovation. Selling in new countries, that's a really good example. So that's we can tie that in with Ansoff's matrix, can't we? So you're selling it to a new market. Changing the price, and the benefit of that would depend purely on price elasticity of demand. Should we have a look at what we had? Some great answers coming there, isn't it? Some great answers.
Yeah, it's just meant to be gentle revision, but it's important to say product life cycle not examined, I think, since 2021. I was just updating our topic tracker this morning, and I was quite surprised by that, because I think it's a core model. And there was a bit of promotion in paper 2, or some promotion, but it wasn't about product life cycle. So new ways to use a product's quite interesting, wasn't it? Because if you think of a product like Lucozade, when I was younger, Lucozade was, you only got it when you were poorly, and they've repositioned that poorly, and they've repositioned that to be an energy drink, bringing out new product variations, different flavors. Coca-Cola springs to mind there, targeting different users, different customers, and again, maybe just changing the packaging will give that product a little bit of a lift, maybe bringing it more up to date and prevent that product from going into decline, which is the idea of the product life cycle. Let's move on. So we've done we're whizzing through these. We've done 3 so far. Let's spin the wheel again. We'll only do 2 more, G, so hopefully one of them will be Greg's. Not this time. Methods of performance-related pay. What do we understand by performance-related pay? Obviously, it's something to do with financial remuneration, maybe financial motivation. Rufus in like a flash. It's almost like Rufus was thinking, I think it's going to land on methods of performance-related pay, but he's spot on. Piece rate, which of course is associated with Taylor, if we're making a link to motivational theorists, and commission. We won't spend too much on commission because that might be coming up later, and it will form a feature of our session on the case study tomorrow. Felix also going for the same. Imogen's gone for a whole bunch of them here, G.
Piece rate, pay bonus, link to Taylor there. Methods of performance-related pay are intrinsically linked to different motivational theorists, aren't they? Profit sharing. Profit sharing is a really, really good one. A really good one. Lots of
Tobas is. I think there's a bit of lag on Tobas's internet connection. He's still working on the previous one. Hayden using a bit of such as seasoning there. McDonald's, referencing McDonald's use of performance-related pay. Presumably all team-based, isn't it, McDonald's? Presumably bonuses or pay that are based around efficiency and accuracy of order processing, I'm guessing. Never worked at McDonald's, but I've always been impressed by how they work together. Let's see what we went with. Commission, which we'll come back to. Share ownership, share share bonus, share profit shares, and share ownership, profit sharing, piece rate pay. Superb stuff.
Great stuff.
One more spin. Let's just spin it again. Do you think it's going to land on Greg's? Surely it will. It's sponsored by them. It should do, shouldn't it? We may lose our sponsor if it doesn't, and it hasn't. Can you believe it? Last one. Factors that influence culture. Now, again, culture wasn't examined in paper 1 or paper 2. It's often a paper 1 or paper 3 type topic, isn't it? What do we think? Avni, straight in. Comment on these cheers. They're coming in. I'll put one or two on there.
Yeah, leadership, business size. Looking at them there. Size of the business, that could be a big factor influencing the organisational culture. Level of expertise of employees is an interesting, isn't it? How skilled the workers are may influence, the organisational culture. Also, the type of work may influence the organisational culture. I like that new one. Leadership style. That's a really interesting one. Leadership style may influence organisational culture. The type of product. Yeah, size of business, skills, product type. I think the managerial styles is an interesting one, isn't it? Leadership. Leadership is a big factor that can influence organisational culture. Leadership management styles.
Who was it? It was it Handy who talked about culture being the way we do things around here?
Yeah.
And it's often a bunch of things, isn't it? Charles Shine was another theorist who talked about organisational culture, and he talked about peeling back the layers of a business to see what really goes on. For example, how people communicate with each other. Is it email? Is it meetings? Is it informal, formal? Looking at the structure. What's the hierarchy like? How do people get rewarded? Do they get rewarded as individuals or as teams? And I think a lot of that comes down to culture being set by leadership, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of models and theories in the chat window as well, which is great to see. Supporting our answers with some models and theories, which is great.
Yep. A number of people referencing Hofstadter in the answers as well. Because Hofstadter is about culture, and it's definitely relevant to organisational culture. Hofstadter's focus is on the differences in national cultures, and we'll touch on that tomorrow again. But good stuff. Well, that's it. I don't think it'll let us spin it again. I think the AI stops us after 5. So,
such a shame.
Apologies for Greg's. Now, before we do a quick bit of work for 10 minutes on our case study, let's just do 2 or 3 minutes on quick fire definitions. Just really conscious of the fact that in paper 1, paper 2, to get the good marks, and in paper 3, you've got to know your stuff. Got to know it. End of. So over to you. Let's spin the wheel. No apologies for this. We don't know whether these are going to be the topics that get examined, but we need to know our stuff. Really important. Good way of revising. So what do you mean by forward horizontal integration?
So we need to know what we understand by horizontal integration first, and then, pay it forward, as they say. What do we think? That's a key business concept, isn't it? Forward horizontal integration.
Actually, it can't be horizontal, can it? It must be back.
Vertical.
It's vertical. That should say. Apologies, the typo there. It should say vertical. By definition, it can't be horizontal. So imagine that says forward vertical integration. As Joe says, it doesn't that. Yes, it is, Joe. Yeah. It's the AI.
Well spotted.
It just goes to show, doesn't it? AI, Graham. AI is not always right, is it?
Yeah. That's why rubbers are on the end of pencils, though, Jim. Everyone makes mistakes.
Moyes Lewis pointing out this is moving forward in the supply chain. So, for example, a wholesaler acquiring a retailer. Yep, you've got the idea.
Great stuff here, yes. Buying a business from further on in the supply chain.
Yeah, further on. Closer. The further up the supply chain vertically means you're getting closer to the customer.
Yeah, it involves acquiring the business in the same industry but different stages of supply chain, getting closer to the final consumer. That's a great definition.
What an answer. Gabriella's on fire. What do we go with? Yeah, exactly what Gabriella and others have just written. It's expanding forward, moving forward in the supply chain. For example, and a number of people gave some great examples in the live chat there. A wholesaler buying a retailer or a manufacturer, perhaps buying an agent or a distributor, perhaps as a way of entering an international market. So that gets grayed out. Let's spin the wheel again. Commission. Now, somebody mentioned commission earlier, didn't we, when we were talking about performance-related pay? What's
Often
commission?
confused, commission. Often confused with another key concept, commission. So what do we understand by commission? Prevalent in certain industries, very prevalent, say in car sales, commission. Very prevalent. Yeah, the employee getting a certain percentage of the sale, or if they sell beer, then they will get a percentage of the ale.
Or both. And let's come up with a nice a context, which is of commission is prevalent, isn't it, in car retailers? They're on a very low basic pay, aren't they? It's all about can they close a deal, which is why they're, it's the old Danny DeVito, isn't it? You become very, very good at selling cars.
Yeah, he's a favourite actor of yours, isn't he, Danny DeVito, Jim?
He's not, no, but I know he's one of yours, though, Graham. Great one from James there. Percentage paid to employees based on sales. E.g. a salesman, percentage sales.
That's brilliant.
Lots of people talking about estate agents, car salesmen. Those are good examples, although commission is often played to sales forces in whatever industries or markets you operate in. Superb stuff. Yeah, we just talked. It's a type of performance-related pay, so it comes back to this idea of financial rewards linked to the performance. And it could be everyone gets paid commission, or it could be that only individuals or certain groups get it. It can be a cause of a bit of disquiet as well, can't it? It can be demotivating. Should we spin the wheel again, G?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Let's do two more. We're on fire on this. Lots of comments coming in about Graham's car, which presumably was sold to him by Danny DeVito.
Economies of scope not come up for a while, has it? Economies of scope.
It might have sneaked in as a multiple choice question a few years ago, 1 or 2 years ago, maybe. What do we think?
It's a difficult one, economies of scope, isn't it? Students often confuse it with economies of scale. It's an easy one to get confused with. Business operating in multiple markets, meaning costs associated with the department spread wider. That's a good example, isn't it? It's not a bad example, That's not a bad example. Cost reduction by expanding the product range. That is a really good example. If you've already got the machinery anywhere, and you're adding an extra product and utilizing that machinery, that's a good example of an economy. Scope. It's in the word scope, isn't it, as opposed to scale. Two different words there.
Yeah, it's amazing to see these answers flying into the live chat. We could pick out a whole bunch of them, couldn't we? Yeah. Amazing stuff.
Should we see what we had? So the unit cost advantage a business gains by producing a variety of related products rather than just focusing on a few. So this is a really good example, actually, isn't it, about Greggs? And we do like a bit of Greggs, don't we, here? Greggs didn't need to incur the fixed costs of new factories when they added the vegan steak bakes to their existing product portfolio. So they've increased the scope of their products. That's why, unit costs will fall, hence the term economies of scope. Is there one more of these?
I think we've got one more, yeah. Here we go. You do this one, G. Don't know what it's going to land on.
Export. So what do we understand? Yeah. We've just touched on it, haven't we? So what do we understand by the term export? Yeah, Rufus straight in there. Can't really argue with that. Succinct and to the point.
Selling abroad. Any words, Rufus, on that one? If you could just shorten that answer slightly.
Yeah, the sale of a product to another country. Yeah, good. Exporting products to another country. So we can tie exchange rates in with this, can't we? We can tie exchange rates in with that. Selling of goods and services to another country. UK's main export is cars or financial services. That's a great answer. Well done here.
It doesn't have to be physical products, does it? Exporting can include provision of services.
Yeah.
Yep.
Brilliant, that. Brilliant stuff. Should we see what we had?
Yeah, Lainey's making the point, which I think is really important as well. And of course, it's going to be a factor, isn't it? If you're exporting, let's say, selling out of the UK, almost certainly your business, your competitiveness, your pricing is going to be impacted by variations in exchange rates, which is why methods of entering international markets are very closely tied up with, deciding how to do it along with exchange rates. Really good. We went with
Yeah, selling goods and services, or services even produced in one country to customers in another, a way for business to expand their customer base beyond their domestic market. And yeah, it does link with market development in terms of ANSOF. Great stuff, everyone.
Yeah, well done. So we mentioned that we're going to be dipping in and out in these 3 sessions, not the whole thing, but just to try and help make a bit of a point on case studies. So we're going to spend 10 minutes looking at the first part of our mini case study. Gee, could you spend a minute or so just sort of setting the scene there a little bit about, because paper 3, to my mind, even the open question in question 6, is about application, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
there's
of
a
course,
lot of
all the other skills as well, but
yeah, there's a lot of data in there. You'll get a detailed case study which will have data, and usually you'll be given some tables or charts or appendices. And it's really important. The route to success on paper 3 is about application. So what is application? Well, it's about applying your answer to the specific business you're writing about. It is really important to remember that the same question given to 2 different businesses should elicit 2 different answers, because no 2 businesses are the same. And I think we've got a little acronym, haven't we? I think that's on the next slide. We've got a little acronym here. When you're looking at tables of data, particularly appendices, there's a little acronym you can use to see, can you use that more efficiently? And we call it paddles. So if you're looking at maybe some HR data or ops data or marketing data, are there any patterns in the data? Are there any anomalies that stand out? Can you manipulate the data to make it more useful? Could you maybe perform a calculation that you weren't asked to do and use that in your answer? Can you link different pieces of information together or recognize the limitations of the data? And S at the bottom sort of encompasses the rest, really. Can you use data to support your arguments? When you are using data, you must be writing about that business. So that's where the route is to really good application. Try and use the source material, the case study, and the appendices to pick out pieces of data you can use to support your answer.
I mean, I think some of the questions obviously make explicit reference, don't they? So it might say using the data in table 2 or appendix C and other information in the case study. So there's an expectation that you will therefore use that information. But more broadly, it's a data response paper, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's about using the information, the financial and non-financial and quantitative and non-quantitative information as much as you can to help support the arguments.
Definitely.
It's like a mega version of paper 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend the next 10 minutes or so just starting to have a look at our case study business for 2024. And we're not going to go through the whole case study. We're just going to introduce it and let's do one little activity on the 12 marker. And we'll dip into this case study in a bit more detail tomorrow and next week. So the business is called SPL Limited or Sparkle Products Limited, family-owned business that makes household cleaning products, presumably hoping to wipe the floor with the competition.
Hey.
So SPL sells its products under the Sparkle brand, and it's got 3 product groups in 3 different product group in each segment. Surface cleaners, which I guess is like stuff you put on the floor.
Yeah.
Or spray on the surface, floor wipes, that kind of stuff. Hand sanitizers, well, we know what those are after the pandemic, and furniture polish.
Pledge.
Yeah. And we've got some information in the table. So that will be a typical layout of a table. In this case, we call it table 1. Got some information about those 3 product groups. Now, we're going to come back to that table, so don't worry about it too much. It will appear again. But some information about the sales, the profits of those 3 product groups, and some information about the market size and market growth. But as I say, we will come back to that. A bit more information. Now, this isn't the whole case study, but we're deliberately not doing the whole case study. Partly because we've not finished writing it yet, but also because it would just be too much for a live stream. So let's just read through this. Supermarkets and convenience stores account for 100% of Sparkle's sales or SPL sales, all in the UK. So that might suggest there's an opportunity, perhaps internationally. The marketing manager is concerned with the performance of the furniture polish product group. Demand in the market is falling due to fewer pieces of furniture, such as tables, bookcases, and chairs, needing polishing. And due to high marketing costs and low capacity utilization, the furniture polish group is currently loss-making. A bit more information. The family shareholders of the company take a long-term view in their decision-making. That might be handy tomorrow when we look at culture. They recently asked management consultants to recommend a strategy to double sales within 5 years. So there's an objective there. And the key recommendations of the report were to apply the Boston Matrix to the product groups, to consider ways of extending the product life cycle of the existing products, to explore opportunities to export to selected European markets, and finally, to introduce performance-related pay based on achievements of sales targets. So a bit of information there. So that's non-financial, but it's useful context, isn't it? So let's just dip into this, our first activity on this case study over the 3 sessions. And well, I suppose the starting point, G, is to look at the question, isn't it? Before we start analysing the data.
Yeah,
so here's
analyse
a 12
how.
marker.
Sorry.
Over to you, mate.
Yeah, so analyse how applying an understanding of the Boston Matrix might help SPL Limited improve its profitability. So it's analyse how. So we know it's singular. So the same rules apply really to a 9 and a 12 mark question. It's singular. But what we're after is, before you start delving into that, what data could you use or any calculations to support your answer to the question? Could you perform any calculations that might help support your answer in relation to the Boston Matrix? And it's actually leading you up a certain way, really, because the Boston Matrix is about 2 key elements, 4 categories, 2 key elements, 2 axes, really. And what could we do? What calculation maybe could we do?
Yeah, over to you in the live chat to have a think about that. What do we think?
Yeah, market share. I think we're identifying it. So we could work out the market share for, surface cleaners, hand sanitizer, and furniture polish. Once we've worked out the market share, we've got the forecasted growth. So once we've got the relative market share and the relative growth, we could then begin to categorize each of those products in terms of the Boston Matrix. Now, if you didn't perform those calculations, you would be talking generally around about what you believe to be the different categories for each product. But by performing the calculations, you're going to give a much more robust answer. And, show your workings in your answer. Use the calculations to support your response. So already we're getting some answers coming in, aren't we?
Yeah, we'll come back to some of the answers coming in. I'm just making a note of some of those because we'll go on to how you might apply it to the Boston Matrix. So, and there are other calculations you can do as well, potentially, couldn't it? Depends what the question is. So the question is asking about improving profitability. So the fact we do have some data there on profit for each of the 3 groups, as well as their sales, means that possibly we could use profit margin, couldn't we, as one means of considering the decision. Just before we get on to your categorizations, because a number of people in the live chat are already having a go at that, which is fantastic. If you did the numbers, and hopefully these are right. You know what I'm like with calculations, Graham? Occasionally
I did check them. They are right, yeah.
Phew. So if you calculated the market shares, don't forget market share. And it doesn't ask you to calculate market share, but it does ask you to apply the Boston Matrix. So we know that's relevant, don't we? Surface cleaners appears to have a 25.1% market share. That's how we get that. It's their sales of 216 million. So a big business for SPL. By far their biggest, isn't it? Divided by the market size of 860, expressed as a percentage. So that looks like a relatively high market share, possibly the highest. Hand sanitizer, relatively low. Furniture polish, looks like it might have been quite high, but maybe declining, just under 10%. And if you looked at the profit margin, profit divided by sales, expressed as a percentage, well, surface cleaners, lower, but still profitable. Hand sanitizer, very profitable, 24%. So every £100 of sales, £24 of profit. But furniture polish, losing money. So a negative margin. So I suppose, should we start the clock on this one, G? Maybe put a minute on it. Over to the team here. How would you apply that to the Boston Matrix? What do we think? In the live chat, maybe. What's your categorization there? Have a go. I'll start to pick out a few of the contributions we've already had, but G.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on the chat window. There's some good stuff coming in. So, I mean, people's, going straight into it, aren't they? Maybe discontinue furniture polish. It would be good if we had some data to support that, wouldn't it? To support that that line of analysis. I think some people are recognising that the surface cleaner could be a cash cow with a relatively high market share in a relatively slow-growing market. So we're recognising that's a cash cow. So maybe surface cleaners should be milked in order to support other products. I think we're recognising, aren't we, about hand sanitizer. I think someone mentioned the chest. Gabrielle mentioned hand sanitizer as a question mark. low market share in a fast-growing market. So really, just by performing those calculations, we can start to build a line of analysis, thinking, well, actually, could they free up resources by maybe selling off furniture polish, milking the cash cow, and using that in money to invest in hand sanitizer, which is a question mark, maybe turn that into a star, and you've got the profitability ratios and the result of that to sort of to back that up. So
yeah, I mean, there's no right answer to this, is it? But the questions, well, we'll unpick the question and go through a possible response in a minute. But what you're doing in the live chat there is starting to apply the data. Now, you don't have to do calculations. You could use you could compare and contrast the data. You could draw some key features or trends from it. Lots of people do. So calculating market share, I suppose, is an obvious calculation to do, but you don't have to.
No, you don't have to do it. But it would be difficult to answer that question. I mean, you could have a go at it without the data to support your answer. Really.
I love this one from Ryan. So surface cleaner can be categorized as a cash flow, 25% market share. There's your application. You've done the calculation. And it could be worth scaling down production of polish, or perhaps to stopping production or selling the polish brand name and group, and increasing investment into hand sanitizer, because hand sanitizer, a number of people in the live chat have said it's a question mark. We're not quite sure yet. It's got a relatively low share, but the market is growing fast and it's profitable. So it feels like that's a product that might benefit from some investment. Mm-hmm. Should we go through the question and a possible answer?
Yeah.
Any more thoughts, G, before we go through that?
No, I think I've got a little table that's next. It just shows the little categories.
Do you want to take us through that?
So just basically what everyone got in the chat window there, really, so we can see that surface cleaners are a cash cow, relatively high market share, slow but positive growth, so likely positive cash flows and strong profits. We identified that hand sanitizer is a question mark, but furniture polish does appear to be a dog that's got a relatively low market share, but the market is declining in size. And we could have worked out the profitability ratio for that, but we can see, that basically based on that, it's making a loss. So, yeah, I would classify that as a dog. James Smith's going about 12 markers, 2 paragraphs. It depends on the question. If it's plural, then yeah, we would need to, but analyze how. But definitely no conclusion in a 12-mark question. The stem is analyze. So should we have a look at an answer?
Let's just unpick the question first. Now, obviously, everyone's still recovering from writing all those 9 markers in paper 2. The 12 marker, the difference between a 12 marker and a 9 marker is 3 marks. That's the reason why there's 2 12-mark questions, so they could get up to 100 in 6 questions. So treat them like a 9 marker. Unpick the question. It may be 1 or 2 points that are required, but it's just like a 9 marker. And therefore don't over answer it. There's nothing special about a 12 marker. Just unpick the question here. It's about the Boston Matrix. So we need to be demonstrating knowledge and understanding of the Boston Matrix. We don't need to draw it out or explain what each of the different categories are. Just by writing about it relevantly will show knowledge and understanding. But we have to get to profitability, don't we, G? So it says how it might help SPL improve. So we have to talk about the chain of argument needs to be about how it might improve profitability. Now, you might argue is profitability total profits or profit margin. It could be one or both. But we only need 1 point. So it's the same, basically, it's the same timing, same structure as a 9 marker, and a good opportunity to get a couple of questions in the bag before the longer ones in paper 3. Shall we have a look at an answer, G?
Yes, have a look at an answer.
Do you want to take us through it?
Yeah, so using the pecan approach, we're starting with a point, and then we're going to analyze that point in context. So we've started with our point. Close or sell the dog to reinvest in the question mark. So the data indicates that SPL's portfolio contains a cash cow, question mark, and dog. And that actually is a little bit of application, actually, because in order to use them, we must have recognized that that's what those products are. So by focusing on the 2 strongest product groups, SPL may find it easier to grow sales and profits. So we're starting to develop our argument now. The first step would be to close or sell furniture polish, as this is loss-making and operating in a declining market. Again, we could have used some data to support that. We could have used data from the appendices. That would have been very welcome. Although there might be closure costs in the short term, thereafter, SPL's annual profits would be around 3 to 4 million higher. Again, we've used the data there, as SPL would no longer be incurring losses in that segment. See, using words like segment, short term, product group's portfolio, we're really demonstrating to the examiner our knowledge and understanding. The cost savings might then be reinvested in hand sanitizer. There may not be, but there might be, which is currently a question mark, but appears to have the potential to be a star as it has the highest profit margin and is competing in a fast-growing segment. All these contribute towards our application marks. If hand sanitizer could double its market share from 3.4% to say 7%, then its profits might rise by over 2 million. More use of data, further increasing SPL's profitability. So we can just see basically 1 point developed in context can reach the highest levels of the mark scheme.
And it's about the Boston matrix. So we didn't need to define the Boston matrix. We didn't need to draw it out. It applies the model and explains. There's a chain of reasoning, isn't there? With context, it explains by closing or selling furniture polish and investing in the question mark, that will help SPL improve its profitability. And that's 12 marks all day long, I think.
12 marks. Yeah.
And it's one paragraph.
I think someone said in the chat, I can't see, can you guarantee 12 marks with one paragraph? No, I don't guarantee you any mark. That's down to the student and the whether it's analysed in context and displaying accurate and thorough knowledge and understanding. All you need to do is meet the demands of the question as best you can. Analyse how. It's a singular STEM.
Joan is asking a question that a number of people have asked in the live chat, so let's put it on. No, there's no conclusions. 12 marker, it's exactly the same structure as a 9 marker in paper 2 and paper 1. There's no evaluation, no need for a conclusion, therefore. Don't write one. Yeah,
I often look at student answers and homework and stuff, and when you look at it, because this comment says that all we need to write for that, but what else would you add to that answer? What else could you add to that answer without drifting away from the question? It fully analyses how the Boston matrix might help this business improve its profitability.
That's 12 marks. You might be unlucky, you might get 11, but it answers the question. And I think that's the key thing, isn't it? The 12 markers is, don't forget with paper 3, you've got to get to grips with the case study. Therefore, you've got to look at the questions first. But you need to get into the answers quite quickly. And 12 marks, it's just the same as a 9 marker. So don't spend too long on them.
You look 3 more marks, to write an extra point of that depth in 3 minutes. It's not a lot of time.
William's he's been very patient in the live chat asking specific about this case study. If a business was selling a product made a loss and they stopped selling it, would this counter as a reduction in cost? Well, it would. Yes, it would. Obviously, you'd lose the sales, but you'd lose more costs because if it's making a loss, cost must be more than revenues. Therefore, if you no longer made it or sold it, eventually you are, if you like, avoiding the losses, aren't you? Therefore, avoiding those costs. And that's a way of improving profitability because SPL's profitability will no longer have a loss-making product group. And you may even be able to sell it to maybe another furniture polish business to take it. Well, I was going to say to take it off their hands, but obviously with polish, you don't really want to get it on your hands, if you know what I mean.
Can you just remove William's comment there so I can just read the case study again there? So we're talking about someone mentioned, where did you get the 3 to 4 million from? That was from the table prior to that was on the table of data there.
Yeah, because in the table we were told that furniture polish was losing around £3 to £4 million.
So if you sell that, then you're no longer going to be losing it. You're going to retain that money.
Yep.
That's not going to be a loss.
And as Joe's pointed out in the live chat, thanks, by the way, to everyone who's helping out in the live chat. Some great supportive comments helping each other out. Yeah. If you no longer have a loss-making business, you're basically making more profits, aren't you? Because you're not making losses. Good stuff. The 2 million came from just basically, Moyes is asking, where did it come from? Just basically, if their market share doubled, basically their sales would double. And if their sales doubled at that margin, they'd be making roughly about another £1.5 to £2 million.
Brilliant stuff.
Wow. So tomorrow we're going to dive into, we'll do a little bit more revision on, let's come back to here, G. We'll do a bit more revision on some more core topics, maybe dive into a little bit more around, we're going to look at performance-related pay, we're going to look at international markets, maybe a bit of culture as well, and then we will have a look at maybe a couple more questions, unpicking those questions in the case study, give you a bit more table data, a bit more information to use as context. And then we're ready for our warm-up next week, which I think is middle of next week, isn't it, on a Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday.
Yeah. Same time again tomorrow, Ryan and everybody else. It's 1:30 for AQA. Hopefully you found it useful. As always, if you have, give it a like. And we'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.